these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
Hey there. Welcome back to the Professional Hippies. We're your hosts, Colton and Dylan. If you're new to our show, because we've been growing rapidly, we're your hosts with the most, and we like to bridge gaps somewhere between professionalism, hippie woo-woo, whatever that means to you. We're going to be checking out after this episode for a little bit, but by the time this comes out, I think you'll get to hear the recap of the adventure we're going to go on. Last week was a little bit of teaser. I don't remember how we staggered these episodes coming out.
They'll still be coming. Yeah, it'll be like we never even skipped a beat when they're getting
so we're just flat out lying to you. We've already been back, and somehow we're in the future talking to the past versions of us.
When they get this episode, we'll be just getting back from our debaucheries.
Yeah, so Dylan's debauchery. I'm going to a Bible camp actually to learn about the miracles.
Spiritual Bible camp for sure on another dimension.
There. Yeah,
on another dimension.
Oh wait, so when this comes out, then I can tell everyone we got married.
Yeah,
because that's a big deal. We've been trying to keep that on the down low because we've been eloping. So, or we're going.
So you
to
will definitely be married once
already eloped.
Yeah, well, you'll be married once this episode comes out, and I'll be probably 20 pounds lighter for sure, as you will. So it'll be great.
Oh man, you know what we should do is weigh ourselves before we go and proportionally see who loses more weight. I think you're still going to win that because the last time, I don't know what we did. Something
I can't remember. Yeah, but you know what was interesting was because I'm doing the backpacking trip in the immigrant wilderness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
is that like PC? Is it okay to say that in 2023, like immigrant wilderness? Or
that's literally the name of it, the immigrant wilderness.
All right, yeah. I didn't know. I'm just checking it.
It backs up. It's just a little north of Yosemite National Park. So if you want Yosemite National Park without all the wait time and all the people, you just go to immigrant wilderness. There's just no signal out there. But what I did was I looked at it at the, geographically where everything's at. You are the desert just on the other side of those mountains.
Really?
So yeah. So I how the mountains kind of cause the dryness of the lake bed that you're going to be at in your Bible camp. That's the mountains I'm hiking through. Are those mountains causing that? Which is interesting. Y'all are only about 5 hours out from where I'm at. If you drove.
Oh, if you're gonna say 5 miles, I was like, bro, you gotta.
I'll just hike out there too. Yeah. I'll be out there a bit. See ya.
Yeah, because there's that like little bit of a ridge canyon around the playa, right? But you're saying that range is what causes.
Yeah. Right after, because everything goes over.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's like how the Sahara Desert is created.
I saw the little thing you sent Abby, or like in the group chat. So that was kind of interesting. I mean, it's like, it's basically right there. So, but
right there,
the woods you're camping on are backed up to Yosemite.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's still quite a hike, but like the wilderness that it is backs up directly to Yosemite National Park.
Why did I think Yosemite was like in the center of America? Is there another one, Yellowstone?
Is that Yellowstone? Yeah, I think that's Yellowstone. Yeah.
The super volcano and whatnot.
Yeah. Yosemite has the ones where everyone, I think, tries to go next to the buffalo or something. That could be also Yellowstone. I don't know.
It should be nice and wet for you. It should be a good climate, actually.
Hopefully. I hope it's not too wet because it gets slippery out there when it hasn't rained for a while.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It rained and it's given enough time for it to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I think it'll be good. Not as dusty.
Anything going to try and eat you?
I mean, I've seen mountain lions when I've hiked out there. So there's definitely
seen them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen them out there. There was one, we stopped for a break and we looked over to the left and which means it was behind us. And we saw it look and it was crossing the little creek and going up the mountain, which means it made a decision. And I'm glad the decision it made was to go that way.
The only time they're going to make a decision to come after you is cubs.
Yeah.
Typically 9 times out of 10. Right.
And there was there was also 4 of us. That probably doesn't help, their situation, So I also one time I was just like walking and I just like looked up and looked to my left and there was like a deer 10 yards away from me just looking at me. I was like, "What's up, deer?" Uh
Deers usually will get pretty what would be the word, climatized,
yeah, they're pretty
acclimated to people.
acclimated, yeah. The
Yeah,
bear no bear sightings yet. Knock on table.
certain bears. What is it? A grizzly bear? Grizzly bear doesn't give a fuck. Grizzly
Yeah.
bear will for sure just come right at you. I mean, any bear,
There's
honestly.
not supposed to be any grizzly bears in California. There might be a brown bear though. Definitely a black bear out there. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
When when I was down in, I think it was Belize, and I went to this national. It was called the Jaguar National Park,
Ooh.
and jaguars are it elusive by nature. They don't want to be seen, obviously, because they're predators and whatever hunting, but they don't really drive with people anyway. And so we went to this park not to necessarily see jaguars. They had beautiful hikes, and so one of the most gorgeous hikes I've ever done. There's twin waterfalls in 4 hours. You really got to earn it. But before we start that hike, there's a really cool kind of, how some national parks will have like learning exhibits and whatnot. And on the way to our hike, there was a black diamond hike. And in order to do that hike, which is a backpacking hike, I think it's a 3 or 4 night hike, you have to have a guide. They make you hire a guide. It's illegal to go on the trail without a guide from the National Park Service. And I was learning all about it because I was like, that seems like something I'd want to do. And then we went to the trailhead on the way to our trail, and there was signs all over basically saying death. I mean, it was as close to like nuclear radiation signs as you could get, like death is this way. And then about 20 yards in on the trail, because I'm like, there's a gate and all kinds of shit, and you just walk right around it, right? And so I'm like walking around it because I was like, oh, I want to be dangerous. And then I'm like 15 or 20 yards in, and there's another sign that is basically meant exactly for people like me, which is like, hey, by the way, I'm going to paraphrase what the sign really was saying. And it was like, by the way, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. And just so you know, the question you're at, this actually was almost verbatim on the sign. The question you're asking yourself, is there jaguars out here? Yes. It's not a matter of you seeing a jaguar. The jaguar, you will only see the jaguar when the jaguar wants you to be seen. You're always being watched. I was like, God bless. That's when I turned around. I was 15 yards into this trail, and I was like, you know what? I'm good on.
That was a fun joke.
Yeah, like whoever went through the effort to make this sign, and they had like how many people had been eaten by jaguars, like they had that number.
Oh man!
And so I was like,
man.
you know what? Yeah, this is a bad idea. I'm just what am I doing?
Man, on back.
And then we stayed at a different park. We stayed on the zoo grounds, and they had a night tour, so you could feed the big cats at night, and like you could see all the stuff that would come alive at night. And they had a jaguar that its mom was pregnant when they got the jaguar. The farmer was like ready to kill it, but he was like, hey, I don't want to have to kill this, but I did watch this jaguar. So for reference, a jaguar is about the size of Kai, my German Shepherd, 80, 90 pounds, maybe a little bit more, but they're not huge, but their head is like an alligator. It's so disproportionately large for its body, and its paws are about 4 times bigger than what you think it would need. And then the proportions don't match up. It's massive paws, massive head. And so this jaguar had only known captivity, which was ideal for them. The mom was pregnant. She died a couple years in captivity. So this boy, that's all he'd known. And so the handler was like, check this out. It throws a piece of chicken like 15 feet up on the fence. And the jaguar, like, just no problem, climbs the fence. And the snap of hearing those teeth come together. And he's like, yeah. And his mom took a goat twice her size and jumped over a fence with it and ran up a tree. And you're like,
oh, man.
Jeez.
Yes. That sounds like an alligator.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kitties are cool. I just don't like seeing them on trails.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to be at. We're doing the full wilderness hike this time too, so we're going to be way. There's not many people that hike back there. Last time we were back there, we only saw a handful of people on the hike.
How many of you guys are going?
Four of us on the trail. Yeah, four
Really?
older guy, his son, and then me and another buddy. It's funny. It's like at Yosemite they go, yeah, just like stay in this range, but like when the Yosemite's like you need clearance in order to go to the very back of Yosemite because it can get dangerous back there. We're farther back. Technically into Yosemite. We had to get permission to go back there. We tell rangers like where we're going, like this is where we should be at each stop along the way in case anything happens. Like last time, a couple years ago, there was those big fires that started happening.
Yeah.
And we started having smoke coming to our area. And we were like, how do they warn us back here? And I guess they fly a helicopter basically back there and be like, drop your packs and go. Like just get out. If you drop your packs and just carry water, you can it'll take you about a day and a half to get out of there, but you can make it out of there. But I was like, I'm getting kind of worried because that smoke's getting close. And I ended up going hiking. I told you about that story. I hiked to the top of the big rock and looked out. I could see about pretty far out. I could see it was about 20 miles out, but it was going the opposite direction. We were just getting some lingering smoke. So I was like, I think we're all right. We never got any warning. Nothing ever. At the last day, though, we woke up and it was thick fog while we were out there. But we were a lot closer back to home by that
I saw a video recently because Canada's been getting lit up. And I don't think it was a Canadian video. But anyway, these two people this chick and her man were doing a hike on some mountain. And same thing, like it's always... It's never a bad idea to let the rangers know where you're at. You know, their literal only job is to make sure no one's fucking up the forest and the forest isn't fucking you up.
Their legs are huge. Like they just hike sometimes because we've seen them.
They get off on nature, dude. That's all they love is just nature and serving.
They have their little. If you go off and hike, sometimes you find like little trails off, and I like to catch those. Sometimes they just lead. Usually, they just lead to like people's secret campsites or something,
right?
But a couple times you go back, you'll hike these little trails, and way off the main trail you'll find the ranger huts back there, and they're stocked with like supplies and their own beds and like a big radio tower if they need it. So I mean, they know where to go, so it's always nice to find those too in case shit hits the fan. You can just
they'll tell you the cool little spots to look for too. You know, they'll give you little tips. And so anyway, this couple was hiking, and just like you said, they let the ranger know where they were supposed to be, and a fire set in so quickly that they got a guy in a helicopter who went up and flew up to the mountain, and so they happened to be at the summit because they were trying to figure out, like, they're like, oh, hey, there's smoke going on, and the helicopter rolls up on them, and they're freaking out. They're like, what's going on? And the dude like can't park the helicopter, so he has to like kind of hover it in that weird like snow rescue kind of way. And so he's like rushes him over, and he's like, check it out, like you got to get in right now. You got about 20 minutes until that fire is right here. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's jumping ridges. And so they get in the helicopter with him, and he takes them down to the parking lot, lands the helicopter, lets them get out and get their car. And he's like, you got to go and like go as fast as you can safely to get the fuck out of here. And so like as they're exiting, the whole woods caught up with them. And they're like, yo, like they're like 1000% would have been dead if the ranger wouldn't have let that pilot know where we might have been. And so they just kind of lucked out that they were at the summit at the right time.
Whoa. Whew. Man, that is wild. I can't imagine that. That was what happened in 2017 or 18 when we went to try to go. They had some big fires in California, and we got canceled because it went right through the area we were hiking. They called us and we're like, "Yeah, don't come out here. It's gonna all burn up."
That's the weird part. I was telling Abby the other night. We were laying in bed and watching videos, and I was like, It's so odd, California, because it's so big too, I guess. So mad respect for like how much stuff can happen when it's that large, but it's like the most perfect climate, which is why so many people want to live there. But it's either constantly on fire or getting flooded, or you built some of the biggest cities in the world on a fault line. So God forbid there's an earthquake that rolls through.
The fires happen mostly because, ironically, when we came back from our last trip at Kennedy Meadows from backpacking, they have it's also like a nice family car camping area too, if you stay at the pack station. And there was a bunch of firefighters just camping there in the area, and they were like, yeah, the reason why we have so many damn fires out here is because there's a law. Like, okay, so you know how they do control burns in Florida, Texas, in order to damper things. There's a law in California that says they can't do that. So they have to leave everything, all this dry stuff on the ground, everything on the ground. They can't pick up any dead wood, nothing like that. And so when a fire just starts, it's got so much fuel to take off. They're like, our job is so difficult because we can't do these controlled burns. And then when the fires take off, they blame us for not putting it out. And it's like, what do you want us to do? Yeah. There's so much fuel on the ground for the fire just to take off. And
I thought that hurricane would have messed them up more, but I didn't see anything about mudslides or like nothing crazy anyway.
I know a bunch of people in Cali, and they were like, it's nothing out here. It was like a regular storm. Yeah. The news was just making it out to be something.
It seemed like it had potential, but I mean,
Mexico got hit way worse than
exactly right.
than the U.S. did. Ironically named Hillary. Hilarious.
We haven't seen. Yesterday was our first drizzle of rain. It rained for like 15 minutes in I think 6 or 7 weeks, and we've been averaging like 102, 103 for the last month. So like everything, like my house is starting to split because the clay, it's as dry as it's gonna really get. But like everybody's homes are starting to split in Austin because the ground is moving so much. So my lawn has like 2-3 inch gaps in the dirt because it's just dried out so much. And it's like you drive around, everything just looks like just tinderbox dry, like ready to go. My trees are starting to die because it's so dry. Like it looks like fall in my backyard. Some of my biggest trees are trying to die off, and I'm like,
whoa,
I don't know how much water a tree needs, but Jesus.
Break that fire hydrant. Oh, that's crazy. Get that city water spraying all over the neighborhood.
Wow, look at that. I don't know.
Look at that. That's crazy. How did that happen? Well, take advantage of it.
No, man. So I'm excited for the trip. The difference this year to last year is wild. Being able to do maintenance on the
way more prepared.
Way more, bro. Like just packing stuff up today, I was like, man, there's so much more room when you're not like packing it the night before because it wasn't even able to run 2 nights before.
Yeah, packing up everything the night before. Like, do we need this? Don't think about it. Just throw it in. We might. Just who cares? We'll deal with that problem later.
Tired of answering questions. You're like, just yes, dude. Just I don't know. Go in my house and find stuff. Put it.
Fill it up. Fill it up. What about these shorts? Probably throw it in. I don't know.
Yeah. So a weird thing that like I ran into is I got a multi-tool. I believe that's what they're called, like the Swiss Army knife multi-tool. Yeah. And I got one, and it had like I was like, hey, I've never owned a multi-tool, but I remember how handy that was last year when we were out there. And Joe, when something would break, he'd be like, here, let me one of my mini tools on my belt or whatever, my fucking cop belt. So I ordered one, and it had multiple heads on it, but it kind of looks like this, right? Like I
got something like that.
What a dad would carry his cell phone in on his side belt or whatever.
A Leatherman. Is it a Leatherman?
I didn't get the Leatherman because they're like 150. Oh, okay. And so I was like, let me make sure I'm going to use it. So I got one. I think would I get a Gerber? It was like $50 instead. Yeah. I figured a Leatherman would be better, but make sure I use it. Good to have. Yeah. One thing I didn't understand, the other brand that I bought, I was like, oh, this is nice. It comes with all these different like flatheads and Phillips heads and whatever. But you couldn't put it in there and it fucking stay in there. So they're anticipating that you're gonna rock this everywhere you go and keep the little heads on the outside. It's not great for conversational material, but I just was like, who the fuck would want that? Like, why?
Well, you bought a $50 one instead of like $100 one.
No, that was the $40 one. I returned that.
That's
And
why.
yeah, the extra $10 is worth it. Yeah. Mossy Oak, you failed me.
They go, yeah, oh yeah, the Mossy. They're like, they'll lose the case anyway. It's just, who cares?
I know. I'm like, what kind of planned obsolescence do we got going on around here? Like,
They
just
go, Mossy old folks don't carry it in the case. They just put it in their pocket. They don't
I
care.
just thought about it. I was like, how often do you need like a massive screwdriver versus a small? I was just like, I just need a fucking flathead and I just need my shit, man. And I just want to carry one thing. I don't have to carry multiple things.
As you get older, the more dad you become, the bigger your Leatherman gets. With more
Like
tools.
levels, like purple belt, brown belt, or however it goes, black belt, right? One thing that is weird this year, I don't know if you've still been following any of the Burning Man just cause, but all of the ticket prices have dropped like precipitously.
Really? I didn't follow it this year just because I really want to go, so I didn't follow it this year. But is it? Well, it's because when we went, it was the first year back, so it kind of makes sense a little bit.
Get this. This is weird. Burning Man this year has been having this like weird fraction happening where, so when I bought our tickets, we were on the step program and it was like, you just sign up, whatever. And we got our tickets at $570, which we're fired up about because last year, that was a panic shop, whatever. Michael and Caitlin, when I got the approval to buy their tickets through Step, it was like that $1,500, $1,800 after fees and whatnot. I was like, oh, that's a great deal. Tickets now are going for like average $200-$300.
Whoa. Dude,
Yeah.
I wonder if it's actually I can think of a couple of reasons why. Maybe I wonder if it's because so many Californians that would normally go to that moved away. Because normally, like, let's think of San Francisco. It's a big San Francisco thing. They just have to drive over, and a lot of them move to Texas and Florida.
I could see that. I think the job market has a lot to do with it. All the tech layoffs is a big influence.
A lot of people are cutting back on going to it maybe this year.
Yeah, and then there's some thought leaders, some influencers. There's one in particular. I don't feel the need to name his name, but he made this video about how he's not going. He's been going for years and years, and
Is that Aubrey Marcus?
Yeah, there you go. All right, nailed it. I just wasn't, going to bring it in because like whatever. But we're like, there's this weird tone going on in the Burning Man groups, and where it's like people like blaming or like pointing, and this weird energy. And so one of the things I brought in is like when Luke and I went to Tomorrow World and it rained and it was fucked up. Like the cop cars couldn't get out, the ambulances couldn't get in. People had to walk 9 miles to an Uber kind of deal. And Luke and I woke up and we were like, this is fucked up. Let's go have some fun. You put some plastic bags on your socks and you go play in the mud. And it's like, who gives a fuck what people think all of a sudden? When did we start
when did anyone
subscribing
care
to like
out there?
Like, who gives a shit? I love that people have opinions and want to voice those, but
all the big time people that would go and they have these camps, they couldn't find all the workers to do all the work for them. So they're like, well, if I can't find anyone to do the work for me, I ain't going to that.
Yeah. And I've shared a couple times, and I'm going to continue to share your philosophy around how it's a utopia built on greed and slavery. So I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be out there propagating your philosophies to everyone and seed planting doubt in their hearts.
I remember we were out there. They're like, what camp you had? And be like, none. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Be like, we're free, man. We're doing whatever we want. It was astonishing. People couldn't wrap their heads around
it. Well, so the other thing I've discovered this year is that Burning Man as a organization makes a push for camps because that's actually part of the original philosophy. So there's a cool kind of interweaving behind the idea and philosophy.
And that makes sense. And it works when it's the camps, everyone's working together. But it 100% turned into very rich people just getting other people
when you're
to
at the
work
level
for
of like a camp that is offering spankings or human car wash, right?
The rollerblading,
snowballs. Yeah, like when you're
rollerblading.
at that level, it's that this is who we are, you know, we're the Spank Boys or whatever. And so it's like the total community vibe. And then somehow here comes this fucking 50-foot tall fucking rolling stage on monster wheels, Mad Max style, next to you with flamethrowers and lasers going out and bubbles shooting out of its asshole. And you're like, what the fuck is that about? And it's just being pulled with a whole bunch of slaves who were given a ticket, and they're like,
How did that
yes.
pyramid get out there? That's interesting. That's
Yeah.
just like that like the other pyramids. Wonder how that was built.
So at some point you look up and you go, hey, fossil fuels ain't the only thing running this motherfucker, huh?
This airport out here this temporary airport gets a little bigger each year, don't it?
Yeah. So I will most certainly be out there spreading the message of, you know, dinosaurs are fake, Jesus is real. But also, hey, have you thought about the economics of Burning Man?
Well, it sounds like there's a shift happening. The out with the older folks that are like, oh, you know, it's not being what it used to be, and then with the new age that are like, we can just do this shit on our own.
Well, that's the thing that pisses me off is that when you have this idea of what was versus what is, and not understanding the nature of life is change. So who gives a fuck what it's turning into? Who gives a fuck that Coachella is some big massive influencer thing? You take it for what it is. Either you like it and love it, or you fucking don't. Move along. Like,
people will buy the ticket or they won't, and if enough people don't, it shuts down.
right? Like, the only time I get pissed off at like an influencer at anything that I'm around or whatever, and then want to soak up the limelight, is when their sparkly ass is right in front of me when I'm trying to enjoy slander, and they're taking a whole bunch of fucking videos with the flash on. Okay, that's the only time.
That happened at 10 Liquor.
10 Liquor. So it wasn't slander. It was 10 Liquor. Which, by the way, slander is going to be a Burning Man. Stoked for that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
But that's the only time I'm like, hey man, all right, look, you look stunning. You really do. All right,
put a
but
lot
check
of
it
work
out.
into it.
I put a lot of effort into getting these chemicals in me so that I can enjoy that. And you're really fucking that up for me right now. So if I could just ask you to politely move 10 feet that way.
Or you got 1 minute.
Right. I get
Wrap
what
it
you're
up.
doing here. Hey, if I, looked like that, I'd probably do it too. But I don't, so I'm enjoying this. So if we can just compromise, that'd be great.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear the stories from Burning Man. We'll have a full episode of that once y'all get back, and we'll get Michael M Dog back on and to run those stories. And you're getting married out there. That's going to be a cool story.
Yeah.
Make sure Ham Dog, or make sure somebody's getting plenty of pictures, or set up a camera that's running on a tripod, and then that way you can get that running.
Another funny thing about that, we're going to record some clips and stuff out while we're out there. I'm going to bring a kit. I don't remember if we shared his name, but our Bitcoin episode, my friend. Yeah. So he's going to Burning Man, and he's going to be there. So we missed his wedding. He went to Mykonos to elope, and we missed him by 1 day. He hit me up last second, saw on Instagram, and he happens to be there. And so, I've traveled all over with him. And I lost my boots in Costa Rica. I didn't lose them. I left them with him, gnarly hangover. And the buddy I left him with and that crew thought about bringing my boots to Burning Man. I was like, dude, those boots are like 4 or 5 years old. I'm like, no, I'm good. Keep the boots.
That's a problem I don't want to deal with out there.
That's just more moop I got to deal with.
It's more moop.
Don't want to deal with it.
So what do you have a camp area you're aiming for? Since
we're thinking we're going to try and get that same spot we did last year. That was pretty awesomely centrally located, and
there wasn't a lot of people, which was kind of nice. So the bathrooms are usually pretty easy to get to. There wasn't a lot of traffic, which was nice. So you didn't have dust kicked up all the time.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but that was a pretty nice central location, and you knew where to go. Like if you always knew if you went a little too far, you're like, oh, I got to go back.
Yeah.
And then go in.
It's pretty straightforward to find. Hey, this is something I want to ask you. Because last year, I feel like we all did a pretty good job of nailing. What's an art car that you think might be out there?
Ooh, okay. Um,
Followed up
you,
with, unless it's an easier answer, what is a radical experience that you would love for me to have while I'm out there?
mm-hmm. First one, I don't know why this is jumping in my head, but a soccer ball.
A soccer ball, solid. Okay.
I don't think we saw a soccer ball last time, but it could be out there this time. I don't know if we did
Does
or
the
not.
whole car need to be a soccer ball, or does it need to just have a giant soccer ball above it?
Maybe just a try, because a soccer ball, someone could do it, but it's not going to be rolling across the thing. So it's got to
Right.
just kind of be on it, I guess. Maybe there's something with like a goalpost and a soccer. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe something like that. Maybe a soccer ball and a radical experience.
Mhm.
Get a drive an art car.
Okay.
I think that if you get the opportunity to drive one, I think that would be pretty sick. Like
Fuck
getting
yeah.
on one's pretty cool. I'm sure y'all. I mean, we didn't get to get on one last time, so I think that should be something y'all should aim for. But if you get offered to drive one, that's pretty cool.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome. And one thing that we didn't have at our disposal last year that I discovered this year is an app called iBurn. So some programmer out there has taken the effort to go through all of the events and like workshops and everything you can do, and they put it into an app so you can see where you're at, where that's
Is that going to work though? Because you have no signal out there.
You download it ahead of time. They already have everything that's going on.
Oh, so you just get the map. Sorry, I thought you were like GPS tracking where you're at. Got it. Okay.
No, yeah. So it'll ping and show you where you're at.
And radical experience, if you don't get to drive it, because that's a pretty tough, get to DJ on one. Like maybe while you're on one and someone's DJing and you're like, hey, we want a break for like 5 minutes? Like I'll jump in and do it.
Oh yeah. That means, good idea. I should bring my USB out there with all my music.
Tell you what, too, rolling in a dust storm at night was pretty freaking fantastic.
I've got that on my short list. I'm certainly doing that. Yeah, we're getting out there.
Joe was about freaking out because we kept biking farther and farther. He's like, we can barely see in front of us, and we're having he goes, and I don't know if we should go farther out. And I just turned around to him, gave him the eye. Farther.
At that point, you were a shred. You were like, your body was hanging on by a thread, because I slept for 14 hours, and that was, you did that. And you're at the exact same place I'm at, at that point. And so you somehow slept for like 4 or 5 hours, woke up, did that, and then went back to sleep. So
it was beautiful.
But the temperature this year too, by the way, it's supposed to be a high of like 85.
Ooh, man, that's going to be nice. Hell yeah.
I don't even know what. I think that's another reason why they said the climate was so harsh last year that like probably a lot of first time burners were like, I don't want any part of that coming back.
Whatever. That was awesome.
Again, I'm like, dude, half the people, a quarter of the people could show up. If anything, I want the pure freaks. I want the people that their identity is Burning Man. Like, that's all I want. I don't give a fuck about people that are just like coming and going riffraff. I'm like, give me meat, man. And
that's always nice.
Fire.
Like, I love Halloween, and it's always nice going to it, and they're like, it's always nice when they haven't sold it out yet as they get closer to it. I'm like, yeah. Like, good. Like, there'll still be a lot of people, but it won't be so freaking packed there as it usually is. But
yeah, the people that want to go will always make it there. Halloween's a great example of that. You have your purists, the people that are going to be super chill.
Like the people that complain about the people that complain about the lineup. They're like, oh, this isn't a lineup, and then not that many people go. Like, I mean, the lineup's cool. It's a plus for me if it makes it better.
Dude, I'm going to be surprised if Bass Nectar doesn't get booed off the stage.
Probably. I wish I could go this year. I can't make it this year, and it's the 10-year anniversary, but they're not sold out yet either. There. So I'm surprised Bass Nectar is going to that. That is surprise. But if there was a place that people would probably welcome them back at, enough people, would be Electric Forest or Halloween, because you got your very Wookiee people going to that. But I would not be surprised if he gets a booze. I'm looking forward to seeing those videos.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah. Me too, man. Well, I'm excited to see your videos as long as you can make it back in one piece or a couple pieces. As long as you can talk, I guess. That's
As long
really
as I can
what we're shooting
talk,
for.
I can drag my leg back after it breaks down on me. You know, whatever it is.
Easy, cowboy. We're not speaking that into existence.
Yeah, I try to do the opposite effect. Instead of being like, man, it's going to be a great time. I'm not going to have any problems. And then things go sour. I'm like, you know what? Things are going to go sour. It's going to be awful. Now the
Fair
universe
enough.
is like, damn it. He said it was going to happen. Now we can't let it happen.
I'm just looking for, like, you know, if we had hot sauce last year, if I could get a nice mild and as far as problems go. I'm not expecting everything to go super smooth.
But
I
you're
get
so
it.
much more prepared this year. So much
Yeah.
more prepared. You've got a good system in place.
The bar is pretty low compared to last year as far as
Yeah.
preparedness. I mean, you couldn't get more unprepared besides saying, I'm
Part
going
of
and
my
I'm going to
soul
figure it
is
out.
in that RV for sure. There's a little part of my soul in that RV for sure.
Well, folks, I'm excited for you to hear the episode right after this because by the time this comes out, we'll already have something else waiting for you. So to tease that a little bit, man, I'm stoked for the trip, and I can't believe both of our trips are finally here.
Both of our trips are here. We're gonna have. I mean, it's as shitty as it's. I wish I could be going to Burning Man, but I think it's cool that both of our trips lined up at the same time to be going out and doing these big things that we do every. You know, I can only do this every couple years because there's training that goes involved into it. So, you know, it's got a system. Next year, in a couple years, we have Canada planned to go up to a big thing. So it's like backpacking trip, Burning Man, backpacking trip, Burning Man.
Well, hey, you know, we've got a spot in the RV for you next year, buddy.
Mini Winnie, baby. Mini Winnie.
All right, everybody. Hey, if you enjoy this episode, if it resonates with you, please leave us a review so we show up on your algorithm more. Send it to someone you know, send it to someone you love, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Peace.